Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Divergent Network, a support platform for ADHD Wellness and Support Circle. This is my very first time doing this support group, but I'm hoping I can utilize this platform to advocate for people with ADHD and neurodivergent minds and support them into their mental well-being, physical well-being, and environmental well-being. And I'm recording this just because even though if nobody show up, I'm going to slowly building this platform. I will upload these videos into my YouTube channel and my Facebook pages, and this will be a great resources even when people are just looking for a way out. And so that's that. Um, so I have a few notes here. So if you don't mind me just taking a look of my notes to see what we might be talking about. So I am actually in process of getting a coaching certificate for ADHD. So throughout the learning processes, there are certain things that I learned that I didn't really know about that I think that will be really crucial for people to understand. Either for parents, if you have kids that are neurodivergent, or just for someone like me, late diagnosed. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 41, which is just like 6 months ago, probably. But the reason why I right away started this platform and thinking about how to support the people like me, it was actually really because I've always known that there is something about me that I really need to understand a little bit more. And I suspected I had ADHD for a very long time. I would say even when I started seeing therapists, they didn't mention anything about ADHD, but I recognized my childhood where I was very hyper all of the time. I cannot sit still. I could not sit down. And that was a really big part of my life that I thrive in athletic, I thrive in performance, I thrive in all these other extracurricular activities, and I never slow down. But at the same time, academically I had to try really hard to prove to people around me that I'm capable. I have certain learning. Now I recognize it was learning disabilities, but back in the day when I was still, 10, 13 years old, there is something that I just couldn't understand no matter how much tutoring I have, like math, like a lot of things that's linear thinking that I just, in a way, I felt like I failed, no matter how much I tried. And so back in, late 30s when I was just I always have a little kind of thinking that I may have ADHD because I've always made very impulsive decision. I never really thought about the consequences, and that was really tough for me and for my family. In a way, it was tough for me, and this is the first lesson that we're learning today. Even though some, and for the most part, a lot of my impulsive decisions were kind of like, what in the world? Why did you get a puppy? You don't even have an income right now. Duh. Like, but at the same time, the lesson for me was that I thrive from that. I From getting my dog, I actually learned what unconditional love is. And that's nothing any kind of income can provide for you. I learned how to be patient with myself, and I also become aware of my where my impulsiveness come from and how I can delegate through that, and where my when and how impatience trigger me. And those are like the biggest life lesson I have ever learned from getting a dog. And from there I learned how to find ways. Like, the part of it is that you become resilient about what you have made the impulsive decisions from. moving across the country, not across the country, across the globe from Taiwan to America. That was like a split second decision. I say, I got a green card. Sure, I'm going to go. And that's it. I never thought about, oh, maybe I'm just going to go for the school and I'll come home to Taiwan. Or who knew? 21 years later, I'm here talking to you. And I want to have a stage. And that's where we decided to not let those new neurodivergent minds and the disorder that people think about stop us from moving forward. And that is amazing for me. And I want to share this with the world, even though there is no one listening right now, but I am still so passionate about this. Okay. And so let's get back to, sorry, see, sidetrack, relative thinking. Anyways, so back to kind of I talk about how I was learning about ADHD coaching. So throughout this support circle, what I am going to talk about will be something that I learned from the coaching, but also putting in my personal experiences in there. And there are a lot of things that I had to figure out on my own before I realized that, or diagnosed ADHD, or realized that I have there is a certain part of my brain that doesn't really work the same as a lot of people in the world. Actually, there is a statistics of like globally about 2 to 5% of the people have ADHD. 2 to 5%. So just do your own math. For the most part, for the most part, and people are they think a certain way, but there is a small tiny parts of us that we have a little bit of different way of processing, and I think it's intriguing. So what one of the lesson that I learned just a few days ago, not lesson, just a thing that I learned that I didn't know about, is that ADHD, right? Attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. So there a while ago, so in my 30s, when I kind of like recognized I may have ADHD, I was thinking about my childhood because I know I was always really hyperactivity. I could not sit still. I cannot learn piano. I cannot sit there for arts. Like I think the art lesson I only sat through 3 sessions and I was done. I was over. I couldn't. And then, but then once I like after in elementary school, I came home. I got a flyer for Taekwondo, martial art, Taekwondo. I was like, Dad, I want to do this. He was like, Are you sure? I was like, Yes, I want to do this. Are you sure you're gonna go through with this? Yes, I will. And that thing, that Taekwondo centered me. I actually do this for I can't really remember. It was like fifth grade in elementary school, all the way through senior high school. That was the one thing that I have focused. I was committed for the longest time, and it's very active. It's very physically stimulating, and I was able to grow. That's the thing. I was able to grow. I was able to go from white belt to yellow to brown, and I went all the way up to black belt, second degree. Don't mess with me. And I went on performing martial arts, and that is, you find the thing that actually stimulate you, and you will go through with it. That's another lesson learned. Find something that you're passionate about. Anyways, so I think about my childhood. I was really hyper, but then I was like, well, maybe I don't have ADHD now. I mean, I still love sports. I still play basketball. I still love sand volleyball. That's the thing still stimulate me. But I also found a way to be able to be peaceful on my own surrounding. So I was like, maybe I don't have ADHD and I'm not as hyper anymore. So that's also why I delay kind of I was still in the headspace of suspecting I have ADHD. I never really think about it much more. But what I have learned from the lesson, it actually says that the hyper parts of ADHD in childhood is the most visible. So that was, my experience, right? In adolescence, so maybe you also in your teenage years, it is still there. It's also really visible, but sometimes you have combined. So then you will see a lot more impulsivity, which was also my experience. And because that's why when I pick it up and decided I'm moving to America. But then in adulthood, those outward hypersensitivity, well, hyperactivity goes inward into inner restlessness. And I was like, well, yes, because even though on the days that I know and I feel like I will relax and I should relax because I have a very long work day, I sit there on the couch and I can only sit there and watch an episode of something. Even I would get up in the middle of watching the episode for something and walk around the house and just like, fudge, I need to do something with my life. What am I doing with my life? I like inside of me just felt like I don't deserve to sit here and relax. And I just need to be more productive, even though I have been so productive the last 6, 7 days. So it's like the inner parts of me. And that's why also throughout this whole thing, I will share with you why meditation and centering myself into the present moment has really helped me a lot. And I know a lot of you ADHDers out there are going to tell me, because I was the same, I never believed in meditation. I was like, that's for yogis, woo woo, and da, da, da. But no, once I learned about the science, it's, not just the outside look of meditation, sit there, ma. It's more like the science of meditation. Why of the mind, the body, the connection, and how your whole body is conditioned in a certain way from your past. Once I learned all these the science behind meditation, I gave sitting still and just bring myself into the present moment a try. And that was world changing for me. Even though still there are a lot of time it's still chaotic in my through my mind, I can always find the moment before bed when I wake up in the morning. I will slowly kind of just center myself. And when I do that, I feel like I recognize I have so much more space for myself, for creativity. Otherwise, I would just go back into the loop of bustle, hustle, moving forward without even thinking. You're moving through life without even thinking about life. So hypersensitivity kind of translate in adulthood into a very um, inner way, like an inner restlessness. So I think that's a crucial thing to remember. It's not when if you're questioning about if you're suspecting, because this support circle is open to anyone who either your partner has ADHD or your kids or yourself or you're thinking that might be you. This is one lesson for you to learn. A lot of time, especially in women, a lot of there was sorry, before I talk about the woman, I also woman. Statistically, for women, the diagnosis is so much lower for from men or as children, um young girls and young boys. More boys are being diagnosed. Why? Because their hyperactivities are very, 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 very obvious. And then, people diagnose or the parents will be very it's obvious for the parents. So then they find the way to either get diagnosed or ask the doctors and all these different things. But for young girls, sometimes it doesn't happen because we tend to mask how we feel. We internalize how we feel because of, or it's ignored in a sense. So that's why female or girls are less likely to be diagnosed until far later in life because we usually internalize either the feeling, the shame, or just, we're not good academically, but we're just not good. We're a girl. This is a stigma, like in a lot of course, sorry, but Asian country too. You know, um, so that's another episode of story to tell. But as far as females, lost my train of thought. But let's see. Yes, either way, for females, we're just less likely to be diagnosed, especially so when we got later in life, the shame, the guilt, and the everything, it's already overtaken our life. And that's exactly what happened to me. And because, back in the day, you just never felt like you're good enough, or you know you're trying really really hard, but there are certain things that you just don't get, but at the same time you don't know how to ask for help, you don't really speak up. And that's something that I have experienced before. So the I want to take a little time to kind of just wrap up, and I hope that you really, there is something that sparks something in you about this little session that I did. And I want this platform to be, again, like I say, welcoming to everybody. So either late diagnosed people, um late diagnosed female, I hear you, you can come here, it's a safe space to talk about how we can support each other. Throughout all of this, I'm also going to share. So I actually have an interesting thing. I When I was working in higher education for a hot minute, 2.5 years, but a coworker told me, just like, Yushan, you're always just so organized, and I'm just really admire you and impressed by you. And I was like, very organized. I mean, yes, like through the work that I did, I was very organized. But I was organized for a reason, because being scattered and chaotic and sort of in an unorganized way cost me some personal and even sometimes workplace, trouble before. So in order to felt the approval, I had to force myself to learn a certain way to be very, very organized, very productive, and task oriented, and how I can focus on one single task and not get distracted, but also infuse into my relational thinking to have a vision of how this product, how this task can come out. And that's why my friends think I was organized. But in the background, there is a lot, there were work put into this. And this is also something I would like to talk about and share with everyone about, is that before I was even diagnosed or anything, like I found a way that works for me, my brain, to be focused, not scattered, not chaotic, and being able to push through, and have a wonderful, either an event, a amazing project, or just different things like this, organizing an event. So throughout this process with you, with audience, that's also one thing I'm going to share, is to just be able to share with you the resources that I have learned for myself, that in hopes that I can help you as well. And again, this is a safe place for everybody to join. So if you like this, either follow me on my Facebook page. It's You Shine, YU, like my name, Shine, SHINE, You Shine, Wellness Solutions. And that's my page, You Shine Wellness Solutions. And you can also, I'm about to upload this to my YouTube channel, and it's called Radically Divergent. So I want to thank you for tuning in today, and I hope to see so much of you and so much more, and we will get into more in the future. Bye. Thank you.